I've been covering this game since it launched, and that's been a few months, and I've never made an Alear build video, so let's break that trend. I've run multiple builds on Alear. Let's start with something that was actually suggested to me from a viewer. This specific build, so the overall build, like the speed and the sword power wasn't suggested, but what was suggested was Divine Dragon Byleth. So the whole idea behind Divine Dragon Byleth is you get speed increase, which is nice, so that helps you double, but more specifically, you get Dragon Instruct. So when you Goddess Dance, it boosts all of your dude's stats that get danced by +3, and you can also Super Instruct. Mostly I use this for the Goddess Dance stat boost, and honestly I think there are better builds for this particular team comp, but for a general team comp, if you just want to use Alear as a damage booster, you don't want to feed Alear XP, this is a good use of Alear as a utility. So you can essentially reset some of your damage units while also damage boosting them. Now in this case, with this team, the units are so strong they don't need damage boosted. They can just kill anything they attack. So this is a very unique thing, like the 7-man run. Most people don't run only 7 units. Most people will run a full team. So on a full team, boosting stats is pretty useful. But essentially, you get access to some speed. You get access to damage and speed boost on other allies, and it essentially makes them better at combat. And from what I understand, this is more like an LTC type thing, because getting stats, like getting +3 speed, +3 strength, +3 magic, is hugely useful when XP is limited and level ups are limited. So in that format, it makes a lot of sense. In this format, it's still good because I still get a Goddess Dance, and I still get extra speed from Byleth, and I still get a Goddess Dance, which situationally is useful because it allows me to reset my Dancer, and it also allows me to reset 3 other units, so I can dive more effectively and clean up a bunch of enemies that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to kill. So essentially I'm getting 5 more turns, well really just 4, because the Dancer just refreshes someone else. So, alright, so she's sweating. Let's clean this up and then we'll go over the passive. So the passives, very straightforward. You have speed plus, so speed +3 to 5. I just got speed +5, and then eventually we'll get sword power 5. Now this Alear isn't one of my damage carries, though I can use Alear to attack because I have pretty decent damage output. 51 physical attack is decent. This is going to get a little bit higher as I level up. It's not as aggressive as something like Wyvern, but it is tankier in a way because you don't have weakness. Now, one thing I would rather run, to be honest, in this particular run is potentially Roy. Depends on how much I want to enable player phasing. Having the dance is nice though, like it is useful to have. So I'll just dance Alear just so you can see the combat. Like Alear can still do things too. Like Alear has good enough speed. In this case, I have Instruct All. I have, Worm Slayer, Armor Slayer. I can still deal some damage. It's not as much as if it would be on other classes, but it's still enough that I can kill things. Now, obviously, this dude is an armor, so he's gonna be very tanky. And this Armor Slayer is +3. So if it was like +5, and also I was running like Roy with Sword Power 5, it'd be pretty crazy damage output. On Wyvern, I believe most of the stats are the same. I think Strength is similar. But this is the build. It's very simple, very straightforward. You have Super Instruct and Super Dance. And if you don't want to run Alear, if you don't want to feed Alear early on in a run, and you want Alear just to be like kind of a supportive unit, this could be a use case of that. Now, arguably, there are better units for Byleth, because Byleth can enable Thyrsus sniping, which is really good on player phase, but there's a lot of builds that are good for nuking things down that aren't unique to like Thyrsus sniping, for example. So I don't necessarily think that's something you have to do. It's just something you can do if you want to. But yeah, that's my first Alear build. It's pretty fun. It's pretty decent. It's generally one-rounds things. It has good speed. You have good support. You kind of can hang out with the Bonded Shield and then just reset a bunch of people, and that's the main way I use it. So even within the context of this no DLC 7-man run, it's still pretty solid, and I do recommend it. And it's pretty fun, to be honest. Like, but Goddess Dance is really strong. Everyone knows this. It's really good for LTC type stuff or warp skips. But yeah, that's it for this one. Definitely like and subscribe. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know how you run your Alear, and I'll see you in the next one.